Hello everyone. Once again, I'm here with one more video of our 10th Grandmaster R B Ramesh. And in this video, my main focus is that the way he handled the end game, rook end game, and at some point he went for a bishop's exchange. There was a position in which opposite color bishop plus two rooks for both the players, but at some point he came up with one of the ideas. He went for exchange of the bishops, and that exchange of the bishops gave him a possibility of extracting the win in double rook endgame. But the rook endgame, the way he managed, so that is the main important point I have to highlight in this particular game. So let's go ahead with the game. Okay, Ramesh started with e4, Sicilian defense, c5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, e5. Knight c3 people play to avoid a kind of Sveshnikov line or maybe Kalashnikov line. But e5, knight c3 is one of the good lines when Kasparov also played many times. I have seen the Kasparov's games also. e5, bishop c4, this is the line, bishop e7, and here d3. When knight f6 comes, white will play knight to g5, attacking f7 to win a tempo to play pawn f4. After castling, pawn f4. When black played d5, here in my opinion, most probably people played d6 or something. I'm not so sure about the opening. It's okay. Let's go ahead with the game, please. After d5, now knight into d5, knight into d5, bishop into d5, pawn takes f4. Now knight on g5 is attacked, so knight went back to f3, and here black played bishop h4 check. King f1. This position is not bad for white, even though white lost the chance to castle. This is not a bad position for white. Okay. After bishop g5, so now let's see the pawn condition. How many pawns are there for white and how many pawns are there for black? White has 2, 4, 6, 7 pawns, and black also has 7 pawns. Now black's one of the pawns is in danger, that is f4 pawn. And here Ramesh went ahead with the bishop into c6 first, weakening the pawn structure. Giving, it's not like giving up the double bishop because he's getting that one more bishop now in the next move. Queen into g5 and queen f3. So trying to recover the pawn on f4. I mean, not recover, trying to win a pawn actually, because the pawns are equal, so he's winning a pawn. After c4, he's not worried about that. I just went ahead with queen, not queen, sorry, bishop takes f4. After queen b5, now pawn b3. A very good idea here. You take the pawns, I don't mind. That is took pawn on d3, and now queen into d3, queen into d3, c into d3, bishop a6, rook d1, rook a d8, and here I request you all to pause and come up with that particular move, which I found it's really interesting one, and that it's not necessarily a move, the idea, basically the idea which white came up with in this position. Okay, I hope you come up with some ideas. Okay, now let me go ahead with that particular move. Here white player played king f2. Usually what we will play, we will play king e2, and because we need to protect the d3 pawn, so that's why after king e2 followed by king e3 something. But after king e2, maybe after king e2, black was planning to play rook d4, idea rook in d4. If king e3 means double the rooks in the d file, and maybe he's winning this d3 pawn, right? Probably this is the plan. But king f2 is good idea. And here okay, if allowed, then d4 can come up, no issues. So that's why bishop into d3 is played. After bishop into d3, now came bishop c7. What an idea here, you see. After rook d7, now king e3, exchanging the bishops. Okay, and he gave the pawn back, right? So yeah, he gave the pawn back, but exchanging the bishops and now going ahead with the equal material double rook and a, rook into c7, rook into d3. The only advantage which white has, not black, white has here, the king is already well advanced to the center. Maybe that factor is helping him to try to look for a win here in this position. There is no forced win, but maybe white is looking for a win because of the king is already well advanced. After rook e8, rook c1 came up here. So because white started to threaten the weaknesses which black is having. Black may not attack white's e4 pawn, which is isolated because of white's king is already ahead. So f5, yeah, he's using this pin and trying to attack it. But here rook d4, rook into, okay, if black plays rook into e4, rook into e4, pawn into e4, king into e4, once again, so white is ahead in development. Normally in opening development we'll think, but in this position in the end game, king is already centralized. Maybe that is the point I just consider it as a development. But anyway, centralized the king white is having in this position. Okay, yeah, but black didn't go for that, and black went for king f7, and here rook f1, trying to win the f5 pawn, g6 and g4 using the pin. So rook e5 is played and f into e5. Now white have an extra pawn now. After rook a5, white is just defending the a2 pawn. Rook f2. King e7, rook g2. Now using the tactics like if pawn into pawn means rook check followed by rook into other rook skewer. Rook c8, then here he played king f4. c5, rook d5. Again using the making the pin here for that other rook, not using, making the pin. Now rook a6, white played rook c2 to threaten the c5 line. See, these ideas are really instructive here in my opinion, because so white is pressurizing black, not allowing any breathing space. After pawn into f5, pawn into f5, now still threatening the c5 pawn. c4, pawn takes c4, that is b takes c4. Rook a4 and just defend it with rook d4. King f6, and now an intermediate check, rook d6, king f7, king e5. So here is saying, okay, you take the c4 pawn, I don't mind, I'll just exchange and capture rook d7 check, followed by rook into a7 can also come up. Rook c5, intermediate move, or white played rook d5, and black played rook c7. Here white played c5, so because c5, c6, rook d7 is the plan. Rook a6 came up, and here rook d6 by white side. When you have an extra pawn, you can just do a lot more things, but here white is having two extra pawns. I request everyone to go through this rook ending part slowly in your chessboard and go through the move by move and try to understand the idea behind each and every move. Then you can play this kind of rook endgame positions really well in your own games. After rook a5, king d5. So white is in control of the game. King e7 is played by black, and now rook e6 check, king f7, king d6, slowly taking the pieces to near opponent's camp. Rook c8, and now rook e7 check, king f6, c6, c7, so many things. After rook into f5, white played rook into h7, and here black resigned because c7 followed by rook d7, rook d8 is also can come up. c7 followed by king d7 also can come up. So many things are there. So here black resigned, I guess so. So a very good end game Endgame play by our 10th Grandmaster. So in 2004, he became Grandmaster. So this is a game of 2004 in which he became Grandmaster. So next I will come up with one more game. So till then, take care. Thank you. Bye.